We all have little routines. Lock the door, brush your teeth, turn off the lights, climb into bed, feel safe. It's what we do every night without thinking. And we believe that if we follow these steps, nothing bad can happen. Our homes will protect us. The dark will stay outside. And we'll wake up the next morning like always. But what if that safety isn't real? What if someone was already inside the house before you locked the door? What if that noise in the hallway isn't just the wind, or the fridge, or the pipes? What if the scariest moments are the ones we ignore, because we don't want them to be real? Because deep down, we know that once we accept something is wrong, there's no going back. Tonight, you're going to hear 3 true horror stories. These aren't made-up tales or campfire legends. They really happened, to real people, on regular nights that started out just like this one. They didn't ask for anything strange to happen. They didn't go looking for trouble. And still, it found them. So before we begin, make sure your doors are locked. Take a quick look out the window. And maybe, don't listen to this alone. Just in case. Carla wasn't the type to scare easily. She lived in a quiet little neighborhood just outside Eugene, Oregon. Nice house, small backyard, 2 cats that always followed her around. She'd just gotten out of a long marriage and was finally starting over. New job, new couch, new chapter. And for a while, everything felt peaceful. Until small things started happening. Nothing huge, just strange little details. Like the thermostat. She would set it to 72 degrees before bed. Like always. But a few mornings, she'd wake up and it would say 66. She figured maybe the system was acting up. Old houses can be weird. Then one night she made a big lasagna. Ate 1 slice, wrapped it carefully and put it in the fridge. The next evening, 2 slices were missing. She stood there for a second, frowning. Then she laughed. "I must have eaten more than I thought," she said out loud, even though she knew she hadn't. The next clue came in the bathroom. Her toothpaste. Carla was very particular. She always squeezed it from the bottom, neatly. But one morning, it was squished in the middle. Kept happening. She mentioned it at work, half joking. Maybe her house was haunted. Maybe she was sleepwalking. Her coworkers laughed. So did she. But that laugh didn't last long. Because a few nights later, she heard something. A soft creak. But not from the hallway. Not the roof. It came from under her bed. Or more accurately, below the floor. She sat up slowly. The cats were asleep on her dresser, completely still. She leaned over and put her ear to the hardwood floor. And that's when she heard it again. A creak. And then breathing. Not mechanical. Not wind. Slow. Uneven. Human. Carla backed away so fast she nearly tripped. She grabbed her phone and called 911. Police showed up within minutes. They searched the house top to bottom. Nothing. But just as they were about to leave, one of the officers paused in front of a hallway closet. Something caught his attention. He moved aside a pile of towels and a throw rug. There, in the floor, was a small hatch. Dusty. Old. The kind of thing you'd never notice unless you were really looking. It led to a crawl space. They opened it. The smell hit immediately: sweat, dirt, and something rotting. Inside, they found a sleeping bag, a flashlight, empty cans, pair of socks, and food containers, ones Carla recognized from her own kitchen. Someone had been living under her house. Not for a night. Not just passing through. Living. There was no forced entry. No broken windows. No picked locks. Which meant one thing. Whoever it was might have already been down there when she moved in. They had been watching her. Listening to her. Waiting. And at night, when the lights were off, when the house was quiet, they crept out. To eat. To stretch. To breathe the same air as her. Just a few feet beneath her feet. Ben was 10 years old when it happened. He remembers because it was the first summer his parents let him sleep in the guest room. The one that faced the backyard. Felt like a big deal. The room had a wide window that looked out over the trees. No blinds. Just these long, thin curtains that fluttered softly when the fan was on. 10, it made him feel older. Braver. Like he had his own space. That feeling lasted exactly 2 nights. On the 3rd night, something changed. It was past midnight. He was under the covers, playing his Game Boy, trying to keep the sound low so his parents wouldn't hear. The only light in the room was the soft glow from the tiny screen. Then he heard it. A tapping. Soft. Even. Like the tip of a fingernail gently tapping against glass. He froze. Paused the game. Listened. It stopped. He sat there, heart beating a little faster. Maybe it was a branch, he thought. Maybe the wind. He went back to his game. A minute later, it happened again. Tap, tap, tap. He looked up this time. And that's when he noticed something weird. The curtain wasn't moving anymore. No fluttering from the fan. It was perfectly still. Like something was holding it from the outside. His hands went cold. He sat up slowly. Careful. Quiet. He didn't want to move, but curiosity won. He crept toward the window. He reached out, his hand shaking a little, and gently pulled the curtain aside. And there, right on the other side of the glass, a face, white, expressionless, eyes wide open, mouth slightly parted, like it was about to say something. But it didn't. It just stared. Unblinking. Ben screamed. He turned and bolted out of the room, down the hallway, and into his parents' bedroom, sobbing and shaking. His dad grabbed a flashlight and ran outside. His mom held him close, trying to calm him down. But when they checked, there was nothing. No footprints in the dirt beneath the window. No broken bushes. No sign anyone had been there. They pulled up the security footage from the backyard camera. Nothing. His parents told him it must have been a bad dream. Or the shadows. Or maybe he just imagined it. But Ben knew better. He had seen it. And he wasn't the only one. 2 weeks later, a neighbor 3 doors down mentioned something strange. Her daughter said she woke up to a tapping at her window one night. Same thing. No footprints. No one outside. Then another family a block away said their son wouldn't sleep in his room anymore. Said he saw someone staring at him through the window. Always the same story. Same pale face. Same silent stare. Same night. The police came by a few times. Walked the neighborhood. But they never found anyone. They said it was probably a prank. Or a bunch of kids with wild imaginations. But the stories kept coming. Even now, years later, every once in a while, someone in that area will bring it up. A soft tapping. A curtain that suddenly stops moving. And a face watching. Not smiling. Not blinking. Just watching. James worked as a rideshare driver in Chicago. Most nights were uneventful. Drunk college kids, tired airport runs, the occasional awkward small talk. But there was one night, one ride, that still keeps him up sometimes. It was a Thursday, late. Rain tapped softly on the windshield. The streets were empty. It was close to 2 a.m., and James was about to sign off for the night when he got a ping. Pick up Warren Avenue. He sighed, rubbed his eyes, and figured he'd take one last ride before heading home. When he got to the location, she was already standing there. An old woman, maybe in her late 70s. She wore a long coat, held a black umbrella in one hand, and a grocery bag in the other. He thought it was odd. Who's out shopping this late? But she smiled at him, soft and polite, and got into the back seat. Her voice was gentle with a faint British accent. Could you take me to Marshall and Fifth, please? James nodded. Of course. The ride was quiet, calm even. The only sounds were the soft hum of the engine and the occasional swish of the wipers. She smelled like lavender, and something else like an old library, books and dust and time. After a few minutes, she asked, "Do you like driving at night?" James said yes, that it was peaceful, less traffic, less noise. She gave a slow nod. "The quiet is nice," she said, "but it lets other things in too." James gave a small laugh. He thought she was joking, but she didn't laugh back. She didn't even smile, just stared ahead. When they got to the intersection Marshall and Fifth, he turned to let her know they'd arrived. But when he looked into the back seat, she was gone. No door had opened. No sound. No movement. Just gone. The seatbelt was still buckled. And the seat, completely dry, even though she'd been soaking wet when she got in. James sat there, frozen, hands on the steering wheel, heart pounding. Then he pulled into a nearby gas station, parked under the lights, and called his wife. His voice was shaking. He didn't even know what to say. He just kept saying, "She was there. I swear. She was there." Later that morning, he checked the app. There was no record of a trip at 2 a.m. No pickup. No Warren Avenue. No rider. Nothing. But he remembered everything. Her umbrella. Her voice. The smell of lavender and old paper. He couldn't explain it, and part of him didn't want to try. A few days later, still rattled, he posted about it in a local driver's forum. He wasn't expecting much, but the replies, that's what got him. One person wrote, "My uncle picked up a woman like that years ago. Said she vanished mid-ride. He died in a crash the next week." Another said, "She's been around forever. Always asks for the same intersection. Always vanishes before the car stops." Some people call her the Warren widow. Others just say she's lost, still trying to get somewhere she never reached. James doesn't know what to call her, but he doesn't drive at night anymore. He's afraid he might see her again. Or worse, that next time, she won't leave. Horror doesn't always scream. Sometimes, it whispers. It hums through the walls, waits behind the curtains, sits quietly in the back seat. It doesn't crash into your life. It slides in, softly, so subtly you don't even notice, until it's already there. The stories you heard tonight, they aren't just about fear. They're about those strange, quiet moments. The ones we dismiss, explain away, laugh off, until we can't. Carla thought she was alone. She thought the missing food, the cold air, the toothpaste, all just little accidents. Until she found out someone had been living beneath her, listening to her, breathing just below the floorboards. Ben thought he was being silly, just a kid's imagination running wild. But that face outside the window, it wasn't part of a dream. Others saw it too, and some still do. And James thought it was just another late-night ride, until his passenger vanished without a sound, until the app said she was never there, until the stories came flooding in, stories just like his. The truth is, we're all like them. We brush things off. We try to stay rational. We tell ourselves it's just a creaky house, just a shadow, just our mind playing tricks, because it's easier that way, safer. But sometimes it's not just your imagination. Sometimes the creak in the hallway means someone's there. Sometimes the curtain stops moving because someone is holding it. Sometimes the person you think you dropped off never left the car. And maybe that's the scariest part. Not the ghost, not the intruder, not the thing with no face, but the realization that the world is not as solid as we believe, that something strange can slip in, and everything changes. So tonight, when you check your locks, look out the window, turn off the lights, and climb into bed, take one more look around, because horror doesn't knock. It doesn't need permission. Sometimes it's already inside, waiting. Good night, and sleep with the lights on.